Good afternoon, Art and Style. This is by far, I don't know if you've walked around, but this is by far the chicest crowd in the whole event. Not only are you very fashionable, but if you're more of an art person, you're picture perfect. You guys look great. I don't want to do a big introduction. We have a big event planned for you this afternoon for the next hour and a half. And so I really just want to get started. We're so excited you're here. I'm so excited it's overflowing. And I just want to get started. So let's begin.
Oh, okay.
Please welcome Sara Blakely, the CEO and founder of Spanx.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. Where do you want me to sit? Right here? Okay.
So Sara has been to so many Forbes events, and Sara spoke earlier this morning. And before we begin, here's a true confession. First true confession of the afternoon.
You're wearing Spanx.
One of us is wearing Spanx. So I hand to God, this is true. I did buy Spanx this week and had every intention of wearing them on stage. I am not man enough to do that, and it's an old marathon lesson. You don't wear new gear for a big event. But I can confirm that Sara is wearing Spanx because she is her own best advertisement.
That is true. And someone needs to invent a better system for mic packs for women wearing dresses while wearing Spanx. So I don't know if you guys got to see me over there. There was no green room, but I had my Spanx all hanging out, but I got my mic on. Well, I was laughing because I said to Michael, I don't get interviewed by men very often, but when I do, it's super fun and exciting. And I said, I want to count how many times you blush.
I'm an easy blush. Well, I will say that I did start getting mail from Spanx after I bought my first undershirt, and for some reason, Spanx thinks I want a sort of bubble jean tight. I don't really know what that says about me, but
our data scientists aren't doing a good job.
The day is young. We don't know. The first thing I want to talk about with you is that this is a big anniversary year for you. This is the 20th anniversary of your inspiration for creating Spanx.
That is true. I mean, it's not 20 years of the company, but 20 years since I cut the feet out of my control top pantyhose to solve an issue that I had for myself. I am just a frustrated consumer. I had never worked in fashion, retail. I'd never even taken a business class. I grew up on a beach in Florida and wanted to wear this certain outfit that I hung in my closet, and everything showed underneath it. And as a woman, I was like, your clothing is sort of the paint, and if you don't have the right canvas, it affects the painting. And so a lot of women that I knew struggled with, what do you really wear under these certain colors and these certain fabrics?
What was the event? What was the first event? I mean, do you remember that moment where you took the scissors and you could look at it as destruction, but I would look at it as construction.
Yeah, at the time I was selling fax machines door to door, which, can you imagine, for 7 years. So I graduated from college and I'd been doing that, and I actually set an intention for my life that was very, I had this moment where I had a really bad day of selling fax machines. People kicked me out of the offices all the time. I always had my business cards ripped up in front of my face when I was cold calling. And I pulled off the side of the road this one day and I just said, I'm in the wrong movie. Like, call the director, call the producer, this is not my life. How did this happen? And I went home that night and I wrote in my journal, what am I good at? And the one good thing in my good column was sales. And I started asking, what is it about sales that you like, Sara? And I realized I liked offering something to someone that either improved their life or that they needed. And I wrote, I want to invent a product that I can sell to millions of people that will make them feel good. And then I asked for an idea to come to me, and I waited 2 years. And so I only cut the feet out of my pantyhose one time to go to a party. I put it on under white pants with strappy, great heels, and it gave me a smooth look in my clothes, and you couldn't see any undergarments. And because I had set that intention and asked so specifically for my idea, I was ready. Like, anything that crossed my path, I was like, are you my idea? Like, maybe you're the idea I've asked for.
So first of all, do you still have that original pair, and do you still have the scissors?
I don't have the scissors, but I do have the pair of pants that inspired it all, and they're actually framed at the Spanx headquarters in Atlanta, Georgia. So they're on the wall next to also my Lucky Red backpack, which is framed because I started the company with a Lucky Red backpack. One of the very first accounts I ever called on was Neiman Marcus. And I didn't know how it all worked, but I called the local store in Atlanta, and they kind of laughed at me and said, Sarah, we have a buying office, and that's in Dallas. I said, okay, well, give me their number. And when I got the buyer on the phone, I said, I'm Sarah. I've invented a product that's going to change the way your customers wear clothes, and if you give me 10 minutes of your time, I will fly there and show you. And she said, okay, I'll give you 10 minutes. I jumped on a plane. I went there. And right before I was going, all my friends said, you can't bring that red backpack. Like, you're going to the Neiman Marcus headquarters. This thing is dirty. It's dingy from college. I'm like, but it's good luck. They're like, Sarah, buy a Prada bag, return it the next day. Like, whatever you need to do, but you can't do it. And I went ahead and did it. So the red backpack was with me every step of the way, too. And that's framed at Spanx. And I really do believe it's lucky.
So that's around 2000. So at that point, in 98, you cut the pantyhose. Did you know that was the product? And how many iterations before you got to what we think of now as Spanx?
I didn't know if it was the product that I had asked for, the idea, but I was so open and receptive to whatever that would be. And I worked on it for 2 years. At night and on the weekends, I called all the manufacturers that made undergarments in the country and didn't get anywhere on the phone, so I actually took a week off of work and took my vacation time from selling fax machines and drove to the manufacturing plants. And that was interesting because it had never occurred to me that men were the only ones making all of my undergarments. I couldn't find a single woman in any of the manufacturing plants that I was cold calling. And then it dawned on me, the people that are making what I'm wearing aren't wearing them all day. And so that became, I was set out to make one product for myself, and I believed millions of other women would want this. And then it became more of a calling because I changed the compass and the lens of how I made all products at Spanx. And the only lens I had was, how does she feel in it? And that was it. And that was really, it sounds crazy, but it was so revolutionary at the time. I'm standing on the floor of the manufacturing plant. They sized everything on plastic forms, not real women, so I changed that. They had an average size waistband between the extra small and the extra large to cut cost in production. So they were putting the same waistband on every size. And I was like, wait a minute, like a size small woman needs a small waistband and a large woman will need a large. So there's all these little nuanced things that I did without any experience in the industry whatsoever. But I asked the word why obsessively. Sure. And I got people to eventually start shaking up how they had been doing it. I always say we're all on autopilot in life. I mean, everything that we're doing, either someone else has shown us how to do it, taught us how to do it, or we've read about how to do it. And so I even encourage my employees now, even at this time, I'll say, if nobody showed you how to do your job, how would you be doing it? Like, just get quiet and close your eyes, because that's where the magic is. And so because I had no idea how hosiery and undergarments was supposed to be made, it ended up being one of my greatest assets.
So it's very freeing that way, because the pitfalls that would stop anybody, you didn't know that those were pitfalls.
I didn't know they were pitfalls, and also, I was asking them to do very unconventional things to the garment. They're like, well, wait, no, you can't make it bigger there. It'll just slide off the body. And I'd be like, well, have we tried it? Right. No. Well, let's try it. So I did a ton of prototyping, and I still do at Spanx. I mean, Spanx is an innovator. We have many, many patents. We've, invented so many things that didn't already exist, or we significantly improve garments.
Well, I was going to say, so many people try to disrupt industries. You created an industry. I mean, obviously there were undergarments, but you really created a whole category that didn't exist before. And as you started to explain, you're trying to explain to these stores what it is before anyone understands what it is. How did you convey to them ultimately what you had, and that you had something revolutionary?
Well, I started Spanx with $5,000 that I had in savings, and I've never taken any outside funding since the start of the company. So I took the $5,000 and I continued to reinvest it. But when you don't have any money to advertise, you get very, very scrappy. And I literally, once I created the product, I made a list on a whiteboard of all the accounts, Neiman Sachs, Nordstrom, Bloomingdale's, Bergdorf, that I visualized my product in. And once I cold called them and got in the door, I actually took 2 years and went and stood in every single one of those stores from 8:30 in the morning until around 7 at night, selling my product
Hand selling it, basically,
for
yeah.
the stores. And the best way I can explain that is like if you were an author and you just wrote a book and then you decided to take 2 years off and stand in every Barnes & Noble in the country and sell the book in Barnes & Noble to the people walking through the door. So I evangelized my own brand as much as I could, and what I didn't realize I was doing at the time was I was creating a sales force that were rooting for me all across the country because I was able to connect with and do these one-on-one meetings with the people that worked at every Neiman Sachs, Nordstrom, Bloomingdale's across the country.
Well, also, every year you read a piece that, why you're wearing the wrong size bra. I don't read that piece, but other people, I'm sure, read that piece. And so I imagine in the early days you had to teach people, this is your size, this is your fit, this is what it's going to do for you, because it's a product that they'd just never seen before or thought to wear.
Yeah, it was interesting because with $5,000 I was trying to create a brand. So I was, up against Donna Karan, Calvin Klein, all these very established brands, and also explain what this new kind of different item was. And I did a lot of, I had to make the connection for people with the benefit of how it made you look so smooth in your clothes. So I actually took a picture of my own butt. I did a before and after picture of myself and went to Kinko's and laminated that picture and used my own butt. So talk about putting your own butt on the line for your business. I went around the country and literally stood there with this picture of my rear. And then the women would go, oh, I get it. Okay, it's not about the feet. I'm like, no, it's just like a new type of undergarment. And the industry, the hosiery industry, had been making hosiery to be seen on the leg for so long. And these were billion-dollar companies. My idea wasn't strangely massively revolutionary. I mean, literally cut the feet out of something that already existed. But the industry was on autopilot, and they had been seeing it that way. And when I showed up, I'm like, no, I just want your material. Your material is second to skin. It's so lightweight. It's like a perfect canvas under women's clothes. And so it was the first time anyone had thought to make undergarments out of that material that actually were not meant to be seen. Sure. But it ended up revitalizing an industry that had been on a double-digit decline, and then the whole industry saw it in a different way of how they could be using their material.
And I was going to say, obviously you have tremendous competition now. Do you worry about competition, or do you just think, because you have one of those products that, I think of like Jet Ski or Q-Tip or Band-Aid, no matter what someone's buying, if it's not your product, people just call it Spanx.
Yeah.
So does competition matter to you, or do you just keep your eye on the ball and what you're doing?
It's never been something that at all I've been preoccupied with. So I continue to invent and like to fill white space for consumers. And the only time I focus on the competition really at all is when I have a new invention and I do some research to make sure that really nothing else out there exists like it. So yeah, it's just been, I don't subscribe to, worrying so much about that. I've had a ton of people knock me off, a ton of people come and go. I even, 8 months into starting Spanx, I started it out of my apartment in Atlanta, Georgia, and I had a very big billion-dollar company call me and say, we're interested in taking you to dinner. They took me to dinner. I thought that they were interested in buying me. I wasn't sure what it was about. And I found out later they were just sizing me up, and I clearly wasn't super intimidating because about 4 months after that dinner, they launched an $8 million ad campaign for a very similar item with a girl that looked just like me wearing a black t-shirt and white pants. And I thought I was just done. I'm like, oh my God, I have no money. I mean, Spanx is 18 years old, and the first time we ever advertised was 2 years ago. So this became an international brand and a word of mouth brand with never formally advertising. And that's the power of women sharing a secret and customers and engaging your customers.
You also had one very important customer in Oprah Winfrey.
Yep.
So,
I did.
I mean, having Oprah's blessing early on really made a tremendous difference for you.
It was amazing. I sent a gift basket to her of Spanx. But you know what I thought was going to, and as entrepreneurs, you guys are all entrepreneurs, you know that every other day is just a different obstacle to overcome, and you got to turn everything into an opportunity. And what ended up happening in that one big campaign they did is they advertised the space. And their product was super inferior, so people tried it and then came back to Spanx, but they basically spent $8 million advertising on the need for this kind of, what the benefit of this would be, and I really benefited from that.
You've gone into men's, you've gone into athletic wear. Are you still looking for new places to go?
So many places. I mean, you know, I feel like collectively in fashion, women, our garments have been made by people for so long that aren't wearing them and haven't spent a lot of time in them. So I see opportunity for comfort and infusing fit and how you feel in it, in everything from shoes to everything. So there's still a lot on my idea list that I'm excited about.
Good.
Yeah.
And, you know, one of the things I think you sell best of all, to me, the ultimate sales promise of Spanx is confidence. You know, that I think you're selling the idea that you're going to feel great in there. But it is conflicting about body image, because on some level you're saying you need this. On another level, you're saying to people, you know, you're going to look even better. I mean, so it's got that duality. Do you think about that a lot?
I mean, I just want to invent things. The first thing that I wanted to invent was so that I could wear my clothes better. So for me, Spanx is about, no matter what size woman you are, making your clothes fit better and look better. So I've got, you know, from the very beginning of Spanx, we have size extra small to 3X, and we have women that sing our praises of every size. I was a consumer that loved clothes and was so frustrated that I couldn't figure out what to wear comfortably under a lot of it. And now, because we've become the fit experts and we learn so much making comfortable shapewear or undergarments is so hard to do. So that, I feel like we started out in the most complicated space. So now making leggings, like we make an amazing faux leather legging and seamless camo leggings and bras and panties and active wear, that that thread that we get from women is, I just feel so good when I have this on. So.
And it comes across. What's amazing, I think, especially, is that for an undergarment that is meant to tuck you in and keep you lean, you have only gotten bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's been a pleasure to have you up here. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
For today.
Thank you, everybody.
Did I blush too much?
What?
Did I blush enough?
You were good. You were good.
Now joining Michael on stage, please welcome Nicholas